this meeting to order. And the first part is the part I always make mistakes with, so watch me and make sure I try and get this right. Would anyone like to add anything to the agenda at this time?
We do need to add under new business the mural project at Belmont.
Okay, let's note that new business mural with July 23rd. Can I have a motion to approve as amended with the new business item? Thank you, Bill. Can I have a second? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the June 25th, 2025 meeting minutes, current pending deposited gifts report, the current statistical report as submitted?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard? All right. Shall we get started? Let's begin with the Friends report. Ruth, hi.
Well, morning still, but the Friends have sent their annual gift check to the library, and I see Scott nodding his head, so it has been received. We are glad to report that we have provided not quite $32,000 to the library this year, and the library has already noted what they will account for the gift. We have selected an author for our annual meeting. We have not yet set a date specifically yet, pending a space and agreement with the author, but it will be sometime in October. And then it will be on to the fall book sale, the first full weekend of November. And we are looking and talking to 2 potential board members, so hopefully that will work through, and always looking for volunteers as well.
Thank you. Any questions for Ruth and the Friends? All right, let's move on to the Library Foundation. Susan.
Good morning. The foundation is simply working through our year. Currently, we are working on the FY25 impact report, which we expect will go out in late October, early November. Our annual foundation audit is in process, and we are wrapping up our grant report for the Jack R. Anderson Foundation. Their gift is the one that sparked interest and funding in the Early Childhood Learning Center at the main library, and we are leveraging that enthusiasm to generate support for children's area improvements across the library system. We are in the midst of preparing a grant application to the Robbins Foundation in support of Read with Ripple. Robbins has been a tremendous partner, and we appreciate their transparency and willingness to connect us with other grantees in creative conversations. I'm working with Beth related to Read with Ripple to reach out to the preschool principals and daycare partners for their insights and recommendations as we prepare for year 10 of the program. At the same time, we are connecting with volunteers and asking them similar questions. And that is my report.
Questions for Susan? All right, thank you both, Ruth and Susan. Over to Scott.
All right, not really much to add to my report other than the numbers for last year looked really great. I think you'll notice 100% increase in programs over the previous year. Circulation was up 19% over last year. Those are some big numbers. I'm also pleased to report that new patron cards were up 10%. So staying positive in almost every category. Some branches didn't have higher than expected circulation, but overall, almost all branches were on the positive side of their percentage. Door count was up 5% over last year. So I'd like to see that number keep raising, but overall, as we finished out the year, those numbers looked pretty good. I'll also comment on technical services this year. Last year, it looked like we discarded a lot of books. I think that was a lot of catch-up, weeding our collection and cleaning up obsolete books. This year was much more balanced. So we had about 21,000 new items added and 23,000 discarded. So that's kind of how you want to keep it balanced. So for every book you put in, you kind of remove some from the past to make sure that you're keeping your collection relevant. I will say, noticeably, I think one of the highest circling branches and impressively was North Avenue. They had been like declining, and they saw a 20% increase in their circulation over this year and last year. So I think some of the things we changed around with collections and better marketing of materials and opening up the space has really started to show in that number. So pleased to announce those kind of nuts and bolts things. We have posted 3 vacant positions. They were part-time positions that we'd been holding on in 25. So those have been posted and they're being advertised, and they'll close out. We should have some candidates for Belmont, East End, and I can't think of the third one. There's a third part-time position that we'll fill in. Is it on North Avenue? Yep. So we'll get those positions, and those will really help with capacity and freeing up some time with things. Any other questions on my director's report?
Can I ask, what criteria is there for discarding books? Is there a check-off list, or is it that they haven't been checked out, or what?
So it's in the collection development policy. The first pass is usually, is it physically in good shape? Is it something you'd want to check out? Is it, so does it physically look good? Next, if it hasn't circulated in over 3 years and is not a classic or something that's a standard, we evaluate whether it needs to stay around. So the books on our shelves have to be moving, and if they're not moving, then they have to go away. So that's really the criteria the basic criteria, but for more detailed, it's in the collection development policy. So,
Scott, when you mentioned the condition of it, that it's really worn, and I don't know, Sharon, I noticed in your look when that came up first. If something's really worn, you obviously look at that and say, does it need to be replaced with another copy of it? Because,
Yep. So if it's worn and it's a popular item, we replace it. We also, I think we talked about this last month, and I was concerned about books that are donated. So books that are donated go to the Friends. We review them. If it's something that we can put in the collection that needs to be replaced something or add, we'll add it. If it can't, then it goes to the Friends for sale or redistribution. So
I just want to make sure we don't have anything that would cause us to ban any certain type of books or anything like that.
Right.
That's I don't want to even go there.
Well, that's why we did the policy check, so it's been good. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Harriet Henderson. Remember last month, she passed away. A number of individuals have asked about how they might remember Harriet, and the foundation does have the Harriet Henderson Coulter Early Literacy Fund, and that was established on her retirement. So we did connect with her husband, Joe, and he said he can think of nothing better than to donate to Harriet's name than early literacy. That was a special interest of hers, and it is so perfectly dovetailed with her long dedicated career in libraries. So Harriet had no children of her own, but she cared for the welfare of every child in Richmond through her work to facilitate literacy and combat hunger. So we'll be sending an email out to all of our boards reflecting this information and providing links to the endowment to that endowment fund and to Feed More. So that's some information I wanted to share from the foundation and from Joe about Harriet's passing. She had a great impact on our library system, and if you wish to remember her, that's one way to do it. So I think that's all I have.
Okay, do you want to introduce Louis?
Oh, we have Louis Moransky. Louis is our branch manager here at Ginter Park. He does a wonderful job. Last week when we were touring the main library, he was down there leading a Dungeons and Dragon program for young adults. So he has all kinds of talents, and I'm going to let him talk to you about what's happening here at Ginter Park.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I wanted to start by apologizing that when you first walked in, the first thing you saw was a fallen tree that did come down just this past Friday. We're hoping to have that taken care of very soon. I hope that didn't detract from, if some of you have not been here in a while, our greening project. It's looking really nice. We have bioretention basins. We have 3 of them throughout the area. The whole landscape is looking a lot better. We're looking forward to the second phase of that, which should be starting soon. We're going to be including some outdoor seating, so some benches, and a shade structure. So we're really looking forward to having people being able to really enjoy the outdoors around our branch now, especially now that it's looking so much better. So for our branch, we're actually really excited with what's been going on. Our circulation numbers are up significantly. I compare the first 6 months of last year to the first 6 months of this year, and we've had more than 5,000 more items circulated this year than last year. So we're really pleased with that. Our programming has significantly increased as well. Our adult programming has gone up, our youth service programming has gone up, and our teen programming has more than quadrupled. We had 11 programs total through the first 6 months last year. We've had 45 so far this year, and that's not even counting July. That has come along with a pretty significant increase in attendance. Our attendance for teen programming specifically has more than tripled. So we are really happy with that. I would really want to shout out our teen librarian, Kaylee McCoy, and our youth services librarian, Rachel Comden. They've done a great job really building our programming. We're also really excited with our adult programming. We're starting some adult arts and crafts programming, an adult Lego club, and our new adult horror book club, which is going pretty well. So we're really excited about that. We're looking forward to building those up as we go along. They're fairly recent additions, but so far they've been really well received. Let's see, what else? Our summer reading program's gone really well. We're really excited with that. We've had over 150 kids sign up here, which is really up from last year, so we're really happy. And we're seeing a lot of follow through with it. We've given out over 50 prizes already. So, and there's still, almost a month left, and it's really going really well. We're happy with it. Our main outreach program, it goes to the Westminster Canterbury Book Club. I go there every month, and it's going really well as well. We're choosing our next books next month, and we're ready to go for another year, I should say. We're really excited because we finally were able to get a good contact with one of our schools. It's really hard to get a foot in the door with schools, but we were able to make a solid foundation with Henderson Middle School. So we've already done several good collaborations with them, and we're really looking forward to building that in the future with the next school year. As for plans for the future, one of our big goals is we're going to be changing some of the children's area right now to make a more complete play, seating, reading area for kids. Ever since we took down the large magnolia tree, we're getting a lot more sunlight through that window, and it's a nice big open space. And we're going to be adding some end cap play mats. We're going to be getting some Lego tables, things like that. So we're really going to try to build that up to a nice little reading nook for kids. We're also going to be advancing our displays. We're going to be adding more book easels where possible, have more front-facing material, try to really get people more interested in books, because the more front-facing, more cover-facing books we can show, the more people will be interested in them. And we're also going to hope to establish more outreach connections with the local community. That's kind of been our stumbling block so far. Get stonewalled a lot, rejected a lot, but we're still trying. So that's the plan going forward. Any questions? Yes?
First, I thought you did a great job at Maine. And I just think you're running a entire branch, but then you take time to serve the system. That's just really well done. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Talk to me, because when I drove here, I drove from Westbrook, Hermitage to Westbrook, and I just saw the Westminster at Canterbury building after building after building. So I was surprised when you talked about young adults and children. So tell me about the community. What's the mix? Is it mostly adult? What's the deal?
So it's it actually is a lot of families. We get a lot of families. We get a good number of young adults as well. Not as many seniors as you might think, considering how close we
Okay.
are to it. That's why
Yeah,
I'm trying
that's
to
what
get.
threw me off when you were talking, going,
Yeah, I'm trying to get there more often. Like, I know there's been talks about getting a bookmobile, and I said when they first introduced that concept, like, we have to get that bookmobile at Westminster Canterbury because there are so many people there who just can't get here. Like, we have regulars who come here all the time, but I try to go there as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to set up something where we can have some kind of delivery service to their library because I know their librarian there, so I'm trying to get some kind of service where we can have people get cards and actually check out books, and I'll just deliver them to them. So I'm not. We're still working out the kinks on that. I don't have a set firm date, but that is one of our future goals for sure.
okay, okay.
Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, it did. Other questions for Lewis? What's the thing you have most fun with?
Personally, I run a kids D&D here, not a teen one. I run a kids one. It's mostly middle grade, and I love it. I have a group of regulars who've been coming for almost 2 years now, and they love it. And that's probably my favorite program to run, for sure.
I like a passion. That's good. That's good.
You mentioned the Henderson Middle School. Are you having luck with the elementary also? Any, parts that's
Part of
not?
the problem is there's actually it feels like there's always turnover. So like every time we contact them, they say, "Oh, that person's no longer here. Now you have to contact that person." We reach out to them, and then we don't hear back from them for months and months. So you reach out again, and you don't hear back from them for months and months. And every now and then we'll break through, especially on back to school nights. We usually are able to have a nice presence, and we're like, "Oh, this is great. This is our foot in the door," and then nothing. So we keep trying, and we're doing the best we can. We're just really happy we got at least one with Henderson.
Sure.
Not just you, I think that may be an issue with a number of schools, and I'm wondering if it would be possible if Judy Deichman, what's her name? Judy Deichman, from Richmond Public Schools, would sit down with maybe us or something and talk about a campaign district-wide, because, I think we need to have a campaign to get every Richmond Public Schools student a library card and their parents. And, it needs to be a concentrated effort, not you shouldn't have to touch your schools, it shouldn't be fragmented. So I'm wondering if maybe we can get together with Judy Deichman and maybe the youth librarians and sit down and talk about the best way to do this.
I think that's a terrific idea. Will you be in charge of that?
I don't mind at all.
I think you're the woman. You are the woman. Okay.
I'm on a mission.
I will stand by you, but you'll be in front, okay?
Okay, all right.
I love it. Okay.
Sharon, one thing I might mention with that is, and it's been almost 20 years since my younger son was in middle school in the city, even. But back then, even the libraries in the schools were reducing the book count, and they were focusing very much. So I assume that there's a real need for the branches to sort of back that up with physical material that the schools just don't have. And they're much more online focused than they were, 35 years ago.
And they, in talking to my granddaughter's friends, they are so unaware of the resources of the library. I mean, none of them knew you could check out a laptop, that kind of thing. The parents didn't know anything about the notaries, and Lord, they didn't know anything about the memories lab. That was eye-opening to so many people. But our children now, everyone has a phone, and they need to have a library card on their phone. They need to, be able to access resources wherever they are. They're not necessarily going to come in the branch and check out a book, but they will have a book. Or something.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Lewis.
Yep.
Okay, next, Advocacy Task Force. I have nothing to report. Do you have anything to report?
No, I did want to put another mention out. I'm always running my mouth, but
We like that. Yeah.
you spoke about the senior connection, and we need to start looking at that also. We have so many senior citizen homes, and these people don't have transportation. And I know, our lit limo concentrates on young people. And I don't know whether we would get money to do something like that, a van that would go to senior citizen zones or something, you know, in the future. You know, we could beg for some money, you know, grant or something.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Yep, that's a good point. This year in the CIP, there is funding $1 million, and one of the goals in that funding is to get a outreach vehicle. Yeah, so a mobile library. We're working on that right now.
So we're all thinking the same way.
We're all pushing the same way. Yep.
All thinking the same way. Okay, policy. I'm gonna let you take it from there, but when it comes time to take a vote, if that's the right thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't receive any emails, feedback, in the past month over this, so I'm assuming that we are gonna talk about, discuss, maybe approve, the policy changes from last time. There were additional changes that Scott had made after speaking with some branch managers and staff about card policies. So
5.01.
5.01, and there's a handout that was given to you.
Yep.
So there are a couple changes. So one is library cards provided free of charge. That inactive library cards removed after 3 years of inactivity. This is all great and standard in my opinion, and yeah. Proof of address can be provided print or digital. That seems good to me. Fee cards obtained in person. So if you're gonna pay $15 because you live out of the area, that makes sense. And then e-cards, some additional information added to the e-cards, and then also there was the previous language had said that e-cards also allowed users to use library workstations
In the library.
in the library. So that language was removed. That is a change that Scott is suggesting. I'm not so sure. So because we disagreed on this, we want to bring it to you all and have a discussion. Scott, would you like to kind of speak to this first?
I can go over a little bit of the concern. So one of the things that is fairly common practice is to require identification to get a library card or to use a computer. We have, so about 8 years ago, we had an issue with, we wanted to provide access to citizens who didn't necessarily have a permanent address. So we created this card that would be like a temporary use card. And then the e-card is also a way for people to get access to get online. So you can get a computer, you can get a card 24/7. You don't even have to come in the library. If you want to use electronic resources, you go to that, get that card. It allows you to use electronic resources. And one of the things that we did, and this was during the pandemic, is we allowed that card to be used for accessing the computer. So instead of using the temporary card, which we're getting rid of, or the PC guest card, which we're also getting rid of, because we had identification issues with that, because people wouldn't give us ID and we'd give them a card and they get on the computer. They might have a problem or a behavior or something gets broken, and we've got no solid identification for who's using the computer. So we are eliminating those cards and requiring that anyone who uses the library for to check out books or to use a computer, we have identification for them. So the e-card is one that it was like a loophole through that. And one of the things when Clay brought this after our meeting to the branch managers, they said, overall, they were good with getting rid of the PC guest card. They just wanted a consistent policy to use going forward. They also, we have a lot of situations that happen where we have behaviors that are extreme and we don't have identification because they're on a temporary guest card. We didn't get identification. So we can't take action after the fact to correct the problem. So those are the reasons why we are kind of closing the loophole in the e-card and also getting rid of the temporary cards and the guest cards. I did a quick survey of our neighboring libraries, so Henrico, Chesterfield. I looked on the internet to see what other big localities are doing, really no one is allowing people to access computer resources or any resources without identification. So Henrico has a limited access card, which is a 28-day card. So you can come in and get a library card. You still have to show photo ID to get that limited access card. They want you to come back in 28 days to show address. So if you don't have a bill or something to prove you live in, have residency in the area, they want you to prove residency. After 28 days, that card expires, and then you have to reapply it and bring your address in. Chesterfield does the same thing. They have, and their card is only, it's either a week or 2 weeks, and then it expires. But I couldn't find any library that was doing what we're doing with this issue around people who don't have identification. Again, that was started about 8 years ago. We were trying to address a need for recovery places, people who had limited access to ID. Maybe they were limited, and we would use the address of the recovery place, and that's how we would do these guest cards or not provide like solid addresses. So that's why we're really requiring folks to have identification if they come in the library and they use resources. Now you can still come in the library and use the library. You can pull books off the shelf and read books. You can get a guest card, which is it an hour? It's 2 hours. We may want to look at that because I didn't see any libraries offering guest cards that were really longer. Some of them were half hour, some of them were an hour. Maybe it's too long. I don't know, but we don't need to look at that right now.
Well, I would like that in the policy then, if that's available, because
The guest
that
card?
would actually ameliorate my concerns that we don't have a way for people to come in with access without sort of an onerous process, especially if they don't have an ID on them or available to them. So if that 2-hour guest card, that would be a compromise for me. That would be fine.
So we could do that. We're still going to have to enforce the policy around how that works, because 2 hours is pretty much the same amount of time you get with a regular library card. So people will come in and not get a library card and get a guest card and just do that daily. So that could be a problem as well. Like, that's one of the problems is we have folks that, the policy doesn't get accurately followed day to day.
Scott, so the 2-hour guest card, no ID required for it right now?
They just come in and ask for a guest card.
We do ask for an ID at Belmont just so we can check and see if they have a card and that they're not, if they're in the system and like they're banned or something like that,
Sure.
then we need to call the police. If they don't have any ID on them.
Yeah.
What kind of ID is exempt?
Needs photo ID, like a Virginia credible ID. Yeah, and there's a list of those. So it's in the policy. So it's photo identification, valid driver's license, military ID, passport. So you need identification.
So really, though, we're just saying that they would normally come in with an e-card and convert it to a regular card, just like you would to get a book.
That's what they're supposed to do.
So we're sort of just saying that you can't come in and use the computers any more than you could come in and take a book out.
Right.
And I understand why we don't want them to take book out, because we like them to come back and we have no way to track them and so on. I'm not as sure about what the concern is with them using it. I mean,
For accessing a computer.
And I should
Right.
also,
Right.
to clarify, so there was a revision, which we've not approved yet. The current policy as it stands now, there is a PC guest card type, so that people can come in and just have access to computers. So that was removed in our previous revision. This is a revision to the revision, which removes the PC guest card, which I think I had some buyer's remorse about after the fact. But then the e-card had an option for people to still have computer access. That loophole is being closed in this suggested policy, and that concerns me, but I think this is what we're debating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just
Is
wondering.
there-
I see what you're saying, Emily, which is why do we want these people to have a way to do it? I guess what I'm trying to look at from weighing that and doing the same thing Emily was talking about there is what is the rest? What do they do that's a problem? I mean, honestly,
And how
we
much
have-
does it
and
happen?
how much of a I mean, is
How
it really
much
an
does
issue?
it happen?
And maybe it is. I mean, is it?
So let me understand the question. So are you asking why we should require identification to use a computer?
Right. What is it that we're worried about that they
Okay.
will due to,
I
with
can
the
see
computer
checking
that
out a
is,
computer, no, you
No.
know, but coming
just
into
using
the
it.
branch, you know, whatever to use it.
So if I'm a troublemaker
yeah,
and I'm gonna go do something criminal, I'm gonna go to the library and use a computer. And if I don't need to give my identification, that's even better. So I go and use a guest pass and I do something illegal.
okay,
I believe we have a fiduciary responsibility if the police come and say, someone has sent from this IP address XYZ. They can subpoena our records, we can produce them, we can say, hey, Scott was down at the library, he did this crime, whatever. They'll pull the computer and they'll investigate. If I don't have identification, they're gonna say, what is the library doing? You're allowing people to come in and use your resources to commit crimes, and we can't trace them, track them down. So that's one problem. The other problem is we'll have people that come in and have behavior issues, and we go to find out who they are to take action against them, and I don't have any identification. If I don't have identification, I can't say Scott Jones came down and destroyed the computer or threatened staff or created a disruption. I can do nothing. And so then the person comes back in and keeps causing problems. I call the police, ask to bar them. They say, I can't bar them. So it routinely happens in our buildings.
that's it.
So having identification of people who use the computer, their name, address is the first line of defense in making sure people are going to be responsible and accountable when they're in the space.
I'm just concerned that, you know, our homeless population, they don't necessarily have a phone, so they
Yeah.
won't have
Well,
e-card access.
hold on. Most of them have phones
Yeah,
because they can have a free phone
Yes.
that they have. So all of our homeless, pretty much all of them have phones, which is great because if they get in trouble, they can hit 911 and they're safe.
Right.
They also have Wi-Fi on these phones, so they can get to our free Wi-Fi everywhere. This would just be to use a computer workstation.
so if you had a homeless person with no ID who came in and said, well, I'm trying to do job research or trying to
Find
do
a
something like that.
shelter or, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
find a shelter, this and that. Probably a librarian is gonna say, well, let me give you a hand anyway. And
Yes.
sit down and do that.
So they're gonna
Right,
refer
I
them
mean-
to resources, 1900 Chamberlain, which is the homeless resource
Right.
center, where one of the things that they require is identification too.
Well,
So
But-
we're not out of the norm in requiring identification.
But I mean, a homeless person should be allowed to watch YouTube videos. It doesn't have to be a morally, like, impressive goal for them. If they just want to search information for their entertainment, that should be okay too. And I mean, doing that anonymously in itself is not wrong. If they are, so my main concern, and you've spoken to this in the past, is that we have policies that speak to behaviors that are not allowed in the library. I'm concerned that this change is not addressing behaviors because the behaviors that you've mentioned are already not allowed, right? You can't steal stuff, damage property. You can't access stuff that is supposed to be filtered by the filters that are in place in the library. It seems like it would be discouraging a type of person, and that's my concern. Right.
Well, do we have, may sound funny, but do we have capability to take a picture and a fingerprint? You know, if
To have
someone
some.
comes in, I
mean,
mean, you
there
got
are
a
cameras
camera
in the
and
library. I
an
mean,
ink
there are
pen,
cameras.
you know, I mean,
Fingerprint,
if you wanna.
So that's not
know who they
realistic.
are.
yeah,
This is a public space. You can take pictures of people. They don't usually like it if you don't want your
Usually
picture taken.
accelerates the problem.
And we don't want to make records that become available for searching. So we don't make extraneous records. Now, if someone creates a problem in a space, we do take a picture of them because we want to identify them.
Yeah, okay.
But a lot of times we don't have their ID. And I cannot take action to bar them from the space, which is what we need to do if people cannot abide by the rules in the space. So it's
So-
very difficult.
so if someone comes in and doesn't use a computer and creates a problem, and you haven't had any idea, what you do to keep them from coming back next time is you either take a real good look and try to remember, or somebody takes a picture and
We try and get as much
"Bar this
information
person."
as we can.
Right.
we are adding cameras to many of our locations. So
Right.
we had the incident at Hull Street. It was a terrible Friday afternoon. We had a patron come in, go off on staff, knock everything off the desk. We called the police, they came. We had it happen again, like in the same an hour later. And then we had somebody pass, so that was all on a Friday afternoon at Hull Street. We were able to get the camera, but the image of the person, but it doesn't help us identify them.
No.
So what often happens is when we have those behaviors, we call the police, and hopefully the police can come within a reasonable amount of time. They don't often respond within 20 to 30 minutes, and by then they're gone. And the police will get the name of the person and provide us that information, and we can use that to bar them, so that when it occurs again and the behavior happens, the manager or staff identify the person. We can produce the bar notice and say this person is not allowed on the property for this reason or that reason. We're very deliberate about that, but I can't bar people unless I know who they are. So we have to produce an incident report. We have to prepare. We're having a very high incident of this in this summer because we're being promoted as the de facto cooling center. So we have more and more people being referred to us who are out of doors or don't have air conditioning, and so we're having lots of people come. And that's fine. If no behaviors, no problems, it's great. But it's when we have the behaviors that we can't do anything. And so it's been quite a burden this summer.
Out of curiosity, do we have a lot of people come in with just the e-card and ask to use the computers? Or are we worrying about something that doesn't come up a lot?
So what's been happening is Lewis at this location has been using the PC guest card. So he requires identification, gives them a guest card. So we're eliminating that.
Right.
But Adam doesn't use the PC guest cards at East End. He says, go get on the e-card and then you can get on the computer. So patrons are coming in, typing in their name or a name, and getting a number and then getting on the computer and just bypassing the system. So the one thing the managers were asking for in the meeting was, let's just have a system that we can work with.
Right,
Yeah.
that seems fair
So
enough.
if the PC guest card can work, where we can allow people to get on the computer for an hour, we still need to check ID though, because we need to verify that they don't already have a library card and require that.
And really, if we're checking ID, they might as well convert the card,
Correct.
the e-card to a regular card too.
Correct.
I mean, there's no additional privacy they're giving up or anything
Correct.
when they do that. Right? Yeah.
Okay, so let me clarify, what is the policy saying now?
It's saying
up
that
for approval.
you need to have an identification to use resources in the library. Essentially, that's where we're at.
The proposed
The proposed.
What we're looking to approve now.
would close any options for somebody who does not have an ID to use the computers. Now, there is apparently another PC guest card, which is separate from the one that we're removing, like a temporary PC guest card, which is not mentioned here, and I had not known about. The current policy as it is, there is a PC guest card, so somebody can get a card, no ID, use just PCs. And then there's a loophole within the e-registration, which also allows access to the computer.
I mean, why isn't that other card in here?
The PC guest card.
Well, it's just a guest card. Yeah, it's just a temporary.
Yeah, that was a temporary card that was suggested to be removed, right? Suggested to be removed.
Okay, so we're removing that and looking at this for approval. No more pieces.
No, we would have a guest card, which is just a temporary thing that, like, let's say you're visiting here and you need to print off something from email. You're from out of state, you come in, you don't have a library card, you say, hey, look, I need to use a computer. Here's my ID. Can I just get on the computer? We'll allow you to get on the computer, you go, you get what you need, and you go on down the road.
But there would be no way for someone who didn't have ID to get access to computers.
Right.
It's the same as we would do for books. We wouldn't allow anybody to check out a book if they didn't have identification. Yeah. So really what we're doing is we're treating all of our resources the way we would a traditional library resource. So that's my recommendation.
So let me suggest this. This is a hard one, and it causes frustration on everyone's part, even me who's quiet. It's a hard one. Could we pass the policy packet with the exception of 5.01 so that we get that because a mountain of work has been done by Emily and your team. Let's not have this hold us up from a huge step forward. So that would be my first suggestion. My second thing to think about is let's wrestle with this 5.01 a bit more and perhaps run some experiments. If we had the guest card, try it for 2 months. If the guys keep coming in every day to get one, then that's a fail. We're not going to do that. If it turns out that doesn't happen, maybe we'll have another idea. Let's work this, but let's not have it hold us hostage for all of the other work that we're doing.
And let me suggest, I know, Scott, your comment about Sharon's idea with the photograph, and I'm not wild about, creating any separate records or anything, but would there be a sort of a little bit of a controlling effect of actually having photo be taken and then just delete those photos at the end of the day? I mean, if somebody says, sure, we'll give you a card, we need to get a photo of you, is just the act of doing that going to get them to think, oh, they know who I am, I better not do anything?
I'd be concerned about creating records.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
And I'd be concerned about putting another barrier up, because if I'm reluctant to give you an identification, I sure as heck don't want you taking my picture.
Well, if they're reluctant to do either, there's probably a reason, and then I personally wouldn't have a problem with keeping them from using resources. I mean, if they're so, worried that we're going to find out that they're doing something.
Are you a criminal on the run or something? I mean, what?
But I don't want to create a long-term record. That's what my thought was. Just, it's a little bit like going through the detectors. I don't know how many of them are turned on, even how many libraries
we don't have
them. We've taken them all out, haven't we?
Yeah.
But for a long time, you go through the detectors, and they were unplugged. And the idea, and I haven't even noticed whether I've been going through them. You just sort of, you forget they're there or not. But they had a deterrent effect for some people, probably, that, oh, I better not, I'm being monitored, kind of a thing, which I don't know. I'm with Emily. I don't want people not to be able to use it, but I also think we've got to protect the resources and, not have a problem for our librarians to deal with it.
And you suggested possibly approving this without this policy?
Now,
Right.
But where is the
We would work under the
temporary card
existing.
policy? Is that in another?
being removed,
Is
right?
it-
It's
is it
just
in-
a,
Not mentioned.
It's out.
in here?
it's not in here.
So
Yeah, we've
wouldn't
removed
be-
it. Yeah,
Okay, so
we're
it wouldn't
eliminating
be
it.
in what we approved.
Correct.
But could it be in when we?
It
look
would
back
be an
at those?
option when we rework this to do that. Yeah, you've got it.
So really, just take a couple of months here, try different things, come back and say, here's what we think we should.
Well, you guys tell me, is that a reasonable
Good with me.
path forward? Emily especially?
Yeah, that would suit me, just with the exception of 501, approve the policy changes if that suits others.
Okay,
Yeah, just keep policy 1 stay
okay,
as it is currently.
okay. Are we ready to make a motion? We can discuss this until everyone is satisfied.
Okay.
No, we're good?
Holding
Okay.
that out, yeah.
So, Emily, phrase the motion for us, and then we'll get a first and a second.
Should we move to approve the policy changes as submitted in the blue packet you all received at our last meeting, with the exception of policy 5.1.a?
Jonna, are you okay with that? All right, can I have a motion to Cynthia? And can I have a second?
Second.
I'm gonna do Brent because we
That's
haven't had
fine.
Brent
Alright.
approve anything. I want your name here. All right, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so let's do a next step though, which is Scott, you and Emily come up with some experiments that you would be interested in, she is interested in, and we're gonna spend 90 days trying some things and just see how it works. And you can report back to us in September.
Okay.
Okay, are we all okay? Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank Emily, Scott, and his entire team. This was Herculean. Okay, board committee reports. Chair, I am going to start, and the first thing you're going to see is this piece of paper. So Scott and I, with your input that you liked to hear from others at the library, both our community branch managers and our leaders in particular programs, we developed up the next year's program of beginning speakers. And what you'll see is, one, we're gonna have the branch managers back again, because we wanna get to know them. They are ground zero for us in dealing with our communities. There are no voices that are more important for us to hear than the branch managers. So we're gonna bring them on back for a second round, but we missed a few, so we're gonna catch them this year. And we missed a few speakers who lead our children's program, who do the collections, who run our arts program. So we put them in too. This is just for your information. It might change. Someone may get the flu, who knows? But we have another great year of learning more and building relationships with our library team. I'm really happy about that. The next thing I want to talk about is what I'm going to propose we talk about for the next several months and decide how we're going to move forward to. And this is enormously important to me. We started advocacy and we were very successful in getting money in. So now we have good staffing. First time in maybe 1,000 years, but we have good staffing. All of our numbers are up with people coming in, programs coming in, so we're doing more, and we'll do more still connecting with the community. We have a third problem, and it's a big one in my mind. And Phil, can you throw up my 3 charts that Scott, Josh, and Jen did up for me? Or Louis, can you?
Make sure it's on the live stream.
And I'm going to talk about these 3 issues under the rubric of upgrading our facilities. When people come in, what do they come into? And I'm going to talk about them as 3 separate buckets, but we can group them depending on how we think through this. So the first bucket is Maine. And we went through 2 years of studying Maine, so we know. First, Maine is not safe for our employees. And this keeps me up because the stairs are rickety, we have floods. I want our employees always to be safe. And I want our patrons to be safe too. So I would like to see Maine brought up to city building codes. If we can do more, super duper. But we need this building to be at city building codes. And right now, if you read general press, we're the 3rd worst city building in the system. And we don't own the building. The city owns the building. The city needs to do this. So that's facility issue number 1. Facility issue number 2. We have Westover Hills, Belmont, and East End. They are our three oldest branches. They're in large, highly library-centric service populations. And all three are way too small in order to serve the patrons that we have to serve. So that's facility problem number 3. We need to expand 3. The final one, and again, facilities oriented, is this city is growing. The composition of the city is growing. While we still have a huge, wide, disparate wealth education map, we have more people. And for us at the library, we want to serve those people and make their lives better. And we have 3 areas that are growing and majorly underserved. I will tell you the colors mean nothing except for they were choices that Josh and Jen made. But the blue is Scott's Addition and the Diamond District. No one's going to cross Broad to get, I mean, that is a growing, the city is investing in that area. Next, we have District Bonaire. They deserve their own Richmond library. And we have the green, District 8. And you can see how far those 3 are from any of our existing libraries. Now, I will just add, we're ready to make a deal here if, after we think about this, we want to move forward. It can be a multi-use facility. It can be a rented space in a development. Everything for us is on the table. But we need, as the city grows, the library has to grow. And we have not had a new library, this is the wrong number, but it's close, in almost 50 years. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Yeah. So for us as the Board of Trustees, I would like us to wrestle with this issue. Scott is in not only full agreement, he's identified these problems. He by himself cannot solve them. We need to be united should we decide that these are the right things to undertake. So that's step 1. What I'm going to suggest is you think about this. I don't want to give a bum's rush. Oh, actually, I do love to give the bum's rush, but I'm not going to do that this time. Think about these 3. Think about how we should proceed. Scott and I have had many, many conversations. We're going to have many more. Let's all, if we decide yes, let's then all talk about how Scott, not by himself, but Scott with the power of the trustee board, move forward. Okay? Any questions? I probably can't answer them, but any questions at this stage as to what we're thinking?
It's a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So Broad Rock has the largest, look like dimension of area, and we only have Broad Rock as the library, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So then we need to find a space or somewhere where we can add another library, which is not in the budget for this year. Exactly. But they're building up so many apartments on Southside, Broadrock, Hall Street, Walmsley. And when they building up these apartments, families are gonna come and they're gonna need access to the library.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our big hurdle that we have to try to conquer.
Yeah. The other thing that I think bothers me deep in my soul and in Scott's soul is north of the river we have 5 libraries, south of the river we have 3, and that just doesn't.
Right.
And the populations are equitable. So, and Scott brought that up to me, and I thought, whoa.
So south of the river, we got Hall Street, Broad Rock, and Westover Hills. And the rest is north of the river.
Right.
Is that right, Scott? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with geography. You don't have that blue river
And I
through
work
there.
for
I don't know.
AAA, so I don't understand why but I'm looking at all the libraries that are north of the river, and we don't have but 3 on south of the river.
Mhm.
So I know that was way before your time, Scott, but who came up with the plan?
When they annexed Richmond, the
Yeah.
population wasn't
Yeah.
as great in Southside as it is now.
Okay.
And
Look-
Chesterfield had libraries, you know, and I mean, I live in Bon Air and I live less than a mile from a Chesterfield library,
Right,
you
yeah.
know, so.
Yeah.
The need in that area at the time these things were built wasn't that great.
Right.
But it is now, and I'm telling you, up Jeff Davis Highway,
Yeah.
up that
Oh,
way,
yes. It's nothing there.
there is a great need for resources.
Yeah.
I own property, you know, in that area as well. That's where I was raised, and you know, going to a library was, you know, it was an event trying to go to a library. Oh, you know, when I lived there, it wasn't a convenience.
Yeah, I would guess, building on that, when you talked about, I think someone mentioned Bon Air, you know, to some extent, I guess we've been riding on the fact that the Chesterfield Bon Air branch is covering that,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Liberty Mill
Is it?
covers part
I live in
of.
the city, but Bon Air Library is closer to my house.
Yeah.
Right, I was gonna say, it's, so really, this sounds terrible, but the people that the fourth area there and the west side of it, yeah, they're not getting city support on it,
Right.
but they've got pretty decent library access
Right.
compared to the people down here in the ninth,
Right.
where there
Right.
isn't
Right.
a good alternative. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, you hate to say that, but
That should be priority number one.
but to me, yeah, I mean, because you look and you see, well, gee, the fourth has a real problem there, but it doesn't really have a problem in that respect. Westover Hills being small, I think, is a much bigger problem than an additional branch further west in that. I mean, it would be more effective to enlarge that than to
Well,
add a
those are
branch.
all the decisions we're gonna
Yeah.
make.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is,
What I was going to ask is, you've outlined the problem beautifully. What I'm trying to figure out is, what
can I
exactly
solve it?
can we do? I mean, we can come up with ideas and say, here's what we want to go for budgeting. Here's what we can ask them to do with, as they build a new apartment complex somewhere. You know, we're constantly seeing things coming up for approval. You know, can we get city planning to say, well, part of this is you've got to, you know, sort of do a coffer that we can use this much square footage for 10 years or something. You know, I mean, is that the kind of a thing we're...
so I'm so glad you asked me. It is my belief that we need good messaging, right? We can't just we need good messaging, and that's not going to be easy because everyone thinks libraries are just books. And libraries are much, much more than just books. So we have to think about, why is having a library important to a community?
Yeah.
And then what is the problem? And it's got to be data driven of a community not having a library or not having adequate. This story we develop, and then we put it out there because we need champions. I don't mean to suggest we're unpowerful, but we need champions in the city, we need champions in the community, and we need champions in the foundation world, because we're gonna have to come up with some of the money ourselves. So there are a lot of decisions, starting with how do we talk about this, to who do we talk to about this? And in all honesty, this is going to take years to move forward. But if we don't start now, we are never, and we don't know what the environment's going to be.
Yeah.
There might be a gift like there was after COVID of ARPA funds, and we'll be ready. Even if there's not a gift, we will have gotten champions. We'll have the city all for this. We will have foundations ready to invest in it, and we'll have our community saying, I need this. Those are the steps that we need to lead. Or not. Or not, depending on your appetite. But Scott needs these things, and we need to figure out how we stand based on the needs for the library system of the next 5 to 10 years.
Chris, you brought the 3 groups, and I think the second and third are just really tightly intertwined.
I think they are too.
Okay, because it's the space,
I
it's
think
the
they are
access.
too. And I think Maine stands alone.
Maine stands alone
I
for multiple reasons.
I want to hear everyone's thought, but
Yeah,
that's my going in.
Yeah, I see
thinking
Maine
too.
standing alone partly because we're not talking about, and we're talking about accessibility for safety, but we're not talking about, well, we've got this growing demand, Maine is now, third in circulation of our branches, which is hard to believe.
Right.
But both Gunner Park and, or is it
West End.
West River Hills and West End? West End's
River Hills
highest.
and West End are number 1 and
Yeah.
2.
Yes. So, Maine, it's more that it's the headquarters. It's something of an iconic structure. There are a lot of reasons.
Right.
I don't know what we really need. Can we push that separately from using goodwill about branches
And those are
to
the
get it safe?
decisions I want us to make in September, is how do we group these things?
Because it really seems that should be
Yeah,
one that let them fix it because they don't want to have liability and problems and risk versus we need money to give better
Right.
access and service and
But I want us fleshing this out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want
just my
us
thinking.
fleshing this out. Now, I will tell you, over the next month that we're on break, I'm going to be having some private conversations with some people in the city, with some people who have built libraries before and how they message. I'm going to be doing some quiet, not as an official, just as obviously as an official because that's who I am, but not saying we're going to do it, just as information, and I'll have a little bit more hopefully after my August to be able to bring back. But this is not small, this is not inconsequential. So if you don't have an appetite for it, I get it. I love all things related to stuff like this. So we'll see, but you guys will make the decision.
One thing to put in perspective, actually I missed the Board of Trustees meeting last month because I had a client here in Richmond wanted me to go to Virginia Beach to do a project, and I left the courthouse in Virginia Beach to apply for a permit down there at like 12 o'clock that Wednesday that I was supposed to be here. And as I was going down Princess Anne Boulevard, there's a new fire station, there's a new library, and there's a new community center, all right there together.
Yeah.
And in Richmond, what we've seen is we're kind of like the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
A new library, there's a new fire station, there's a new community center, but no new library.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I have to say, that's our fault. We need to,
yes,
I'm not blaming anyone. This
No.
is our fault.
Right.
If we want to change it,
Right,
it's up to us to change it.
Right.
So,
In Henrico, so I'll say that Levy Mill Library
Yes.
has the new playground there.
oh, I know.
So many
Isn't it-
families, it's hard when it's this sunny because there's no shade at that playground, but the number of families that do both, that make that their whole
Right.
afternoon.
What a
Run
perfect thing to
around,
do.
read some books.
Yeah.
yes.
It's
Perfect.
just, it makes so much sense, and it is really nice to have these public resources.
We can
co-located.
learn from our brothers and sisters in the region, no question.
And Richmond Redevelopment and Housing they own a lot of property in Richmond, and they're building a lot of structures, things in Richmond. Why can't we be
And-
tagged on with them.
And the
Sharon-
They build an apartment building downstairs,
It's a great idea.
portion
Right.
belongs to us. I mean, it's all through the city, but
All deals are possible.
Yeah.
But we need to find some champions who'll work with us.
Right.
You know, and I think in the past, we've done great thinking internally. We've been weak
Yeah.
outside.
And one thing I might mention, we talk about some of the others. We talk about Libby Mill, which probably all of us have been in there, and it's wonderful, beautiful facility.
Or Fairfield.
Or
I mean,
Fairfield.
they're all Taj
Tuckahoe.
Mahals.
But,
Yeah.
well, I was going to say every one of Henrico's libraries they are built to be much larger libraries, much more staff-intensive libraries. Collections are larger, but they are not as geographically clustered. I mean, really, it's much further between Henrico's libraries than between the city libraries. And that's because we want to have that access via the bus lines,
Right.
easy walking distance.
Right.
So we have a difference in that we have more of that small, and that's a problem. And we need to maybe decide on some of that. Do we figure out a way to make Belmont bigger? Or
do we trade Belmont?
Do we trade-
Sorry, Haley.
well, yeah, and something bigger in Scott's edition.
Yeah.
Or I mean,
But if we don't start having
We've gotta
these
know, I'm not saying we shouldn't
conversations,
talk. I'm saying
we
these
don't
are
have
all
these
issues that-
conversations.
Yeah.
Let's see.
and push, with that Richmond 300, they want to
Yeah.
get rid of folks driving.
Yeah.
We need places where people can walk to or
Yeah.
catch
Right.
public transportation.
The other
so.
thing is new, pretty architecture makes our city shine. So, yeah, they're all food for thought. I want you thinking about it for the next 2 months. You're not really on break. You're thinking big issues. And September, we'll decide and then figure out how to move forward. And you guys, it's going to be your call. Okay? I am now going to move on to the Finance Committee, Bill.
We're on target. Everything seems positive. We approved the budget last month, and everything started out fine.
Yep.
So I don't think there's anything further we need to
Okay.
look at today.
Okay, Janet is not here, but I have talked to Janet separately as the facilities. So she and I went through these 3 slides, and she's kind of with you guys. What are the next steps? I mean, next, governance. Oh, we're moving right through here. Garrett isn't here. Last meeting, we voted on Antoine Green. There is still an administrative step that needs to take place. That will take place shortly, and hopefully we'll be able to introduce all of you to Antoine at our September meeting, okay? Moving on. Unless we want any catch-up comments before we go to unfinished business? No? Okay. 3 board meetings, we are required to. I found it useful. Ruth and Susan, I think you got no pushback on it, generally felt good about everything.
No, our newer members who attended found it very helpful to understand
Okay,
all the aspects
Yeah.
of it
yeah,
and beyond.
yeah. Because it had been 3+ years since we had done one, I'm inclined to say we should do another one next year. Usually I'd want to do it every other year because there's so much frickin' work. But I think we need to kind of get into the habit of working with all 3 boards, especially if we decide to do something like this.
Right.
We all need to be aligned, and we all need to establish roles and responsibilities. So what do you guys think? Is next year too soon? Do you think we should do every other year?
I sort of like the idea of doing it within the next year.
Okay,
And if we have this ready in 6 months, maybe look at that
okay,
to really talk about it, because I think that really is the next
right,
thing that makes sense to get all 3 boards on the same track. We've gotten that division of responsibility,
Okay.
and now something to charge forward with.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
one of the things I'd like to do is work with Susan and Ruth, because one of the suggestions came is that each board talk about their priorities. So we could listen to each board and then talk about what our priority is, and then discuss how all three efforts might meld together. But I'll work with, not now, but in several months, and we'll get something that resonates with each of your boards, and we'll put things back together. How did you guys like Reagan Thacker from the Library of Virginia? I loved her because she was free.
Good point.
But I thought she did a good, knowledgeable facilitation job. So if it's possible, maybe we can bring her back as a steady face for the next one. Takes the pressure, spreads the pressure around to everyone. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to Scott for new business and Haley.
So we're going to get a presentation up here in a minute. We've had someone approach us for something special at the Belmont branch, and I'm going to let Haley describe it because she's been the mastermind behind it.
Hey, Haley.
Hello, I am Haley DeRoche. I'm the branch manager of Belmont. If I haven't met you previously, hello, so nice to meet you. I am coming to you all today to tell you about a mural that a local artist in the museum district has approached me about having in the Belmont Library. So the artist is Zara Fina Stacy. She is a professional muralist. She has done work for a lot of different associations and businesses and universities, and she has put together this idea of what she would love to do for free for the Belmont Library with funds that she would be receiving from a grant from the Museum District Association, should that be awarded to her. So if we can just go through some of these slides here about what she is thinking. This would be a mural for the children's area, very specifically. So you'll see some kind of ABC, very childlike designs, and that is by design, pun intended, I guess. This is an artist rendition of a blank wall that we currently have in the children's area. It's kind of a mustardy pea green. It's not the most pleasant wall to look at. It's a little bit drab. It is in line with the general color scheme. It's kind of similar to this, but a little bit darker, with that mid-century modern feel. And this would kind of build on that color a little bit, so it would still mesh with the rest of the branch. But it would really brighten up that space. You can see these are the wall of windows that go into our meeting room. So it'll be a little bit visible from the meeting room. That's a nice kind of pop of color for people who are using that if they have the windows open. But they can also close them, so if they don't want that backdrop, they don't have to have that. You can see here's another rendition of what it would look like in real life. I love it personally, but we really think that this would be a great improvement. This over here is actually a fabric wall, so it's not really paintable, so it would really be limited to just this section of the library, which I think looks really pretty. If we can go to the next. Thank you so much. So this is a little bit about the artist. Stacy is based in Richmond, Virginia. She has done work with the New York City Department of Transportation, William and Mary. If you're familiar with the store Anthropologie, their window displays are famous for being really, really beautiful, and she has had a hand in some of that. She's also worked for the NBA, and she is represented by Red Fox Literary, and she's working on a picture book, which I think would also be really cool if she gets that picture book published and we're able to say, we also have this mural by this picture book artist, and I think that that's really cool, and she's a local author at that. Like, that's such a cool opportunity for us to have in the Belmont Library with an author who is very specifically writing a story for children. We have a huge population of people who attend our story times at Belmont. We will have upwards of 40 people regularly at these story times. So I think that this would really be a welcoming presence in the branch, and it would just brighten up our space a little bit. So we're gonna have bright colors, cheerful tones, talked about replacing that drab, undecorated wall. And it will be painted with community members. This is going to be something that the muralist is going to organize with the community, and she's going to talk to the community about getting input from them as well. So this is all based on her receiving a grant, so this would cost the library nothing, which is always a plus. And that would cover not only the paint, but also the tarps, tape, chalk, brushes, and all of the other supplies that she may need. And she will be donating her time as well to put this together, project manage, get that community involvement. So the burden on the library is very, very minimal, and I think that the benefit to the library is very high. So I wanted to bring that to you today. I want to thank you all so much for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley.
So do any other libraries have a mural?
No, we have some some lithographs of some scenes from children's picture books, but we don't have, to my knowledge, have any murals in any branch library locations. No.
Questions to Haley?
Do you know where you would move the computers that are there now?
The computers would stay there, because they can go right up against the wall and you still see the majority of the mural. So for space reasons, we can't move them anywhere.
I have a question, Haley. Would she be doing the mural like after hours? So it's not a disruption?
That's a good question. That is something that I would want to work with her on, and I'm very happy to be there when she is there to make that happen. So we would definitely want to make sure that we're not impacting patron access or anything like that.
I think it's a terrific idea. And if the museum district doesn't give you money, call me up and let's see if we can get the Fan District Association to help out. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll make something work. All right. Do you want to do a motion?
Yeah, you should do a motion.
I should do a motion. All right, are we ready? Is there a motion to approve the proposal for a mural project at the Belmont Branch Library and to formally commission Richmond-based artist and author Zara Finastasi to execute this work, subject to the terms and conditions as outlined in the project agreement presented to the board today?
I'd like to move that we approve the proposal.
Okay, I have a second? Yeah, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Go forward and do great work, Haley.
Thank you all so much.
All right, anything else anybody wants to say before we close down for the day? No? Well, you get August off. Have a wonderful time. We will meet September 24th, and it will be at the main library. Thank you all.